All right, last one here.
All right, let's wrap
This
it
is
up.
a big one because we've had some people ask us questions about this guy in particular. Tank Dell. Tank Dell currently on the year as a rookie is sitting at wide receiver 14 despite missing one game due to injury. Mm-hmm. He's been awesome.
Sweet.
Yeah, he's been – if I'm being honest, I probably have him too low. I have him currently as my wide receiver 25.
Okay.
Overall. Like he's right ahead of George Pickens. I actually have him right behind Rashee Rice because I actually like Rashee Rice a lot in that offense. He's looked really good. There's a couple guys in here. Like I have
him at 25 as well, but I'm looking at moving him up.
Yeah, there's some guys here I could probably move him up ahead of, like guys like Debo, Ayuk, Keenan Allen.
So that was kind of the question is, are we ready to kind of call him the next guy in the category of Brandon Cooks, T.Y. Hilton, Deshaun Jackson, where, yes, these small, slight guys, but it just doesn't matter. He's just that good.
Him and Josh Downs that we talked about were both outliers this year, and both outliers hit, which is crazy to see two outliers hit. Won't change my process too much because it doesn't happen a ton, but maybe the NFL has changed a little bit.
Yeah.
I want to see Tank Dell. There's a couple things I want to see here out of Tank Dell. One, phenomenal. This is I moved him on ranks. I have him wide receiver 25. Probably deserves to be a little bit higher, but in that tier, I'm not going to argue it. I want to see Tank Dell now continue to produce at a high level with Nico because, when Nico's in the field, it's a little bit different there.
Yeah, he's played fantastic as well.
Nico's been fantastic, and they've both been fantastic.
They've both been really good.
And I really do want to see, Nico's contract. Is Nico's contract up this year? Or
he's got one more year. I think this was year 3 for him. So I think
he's
got
so
one
too.
more year.
Yes, I
think
that's correct.
I want to see what the Texans do at receiver this offseason as well.
I have a feeling they're not going to do anything big at receiver.
Me too.
What I think
I
might
both
happen,
up pretty high.
What I think might happen is I think we might see Dalton Schultz walk, and that would free up a spot to draft Brock Bowers.
Yeah, that'd be sexy.
He's only on a 1-year deal, Dalton Schultz, and even just this past week when Brevin Jordan came back, they split. They went back to basically a split when Brevin Jordan came off IR. So I wouldn't be surprised either if Dalton Schultz moved on.
Brevin Jordan, nice big athletic tight end that doesn't catch the ball too well. But
they were splitting time. I mean, it's a mess if you have Dalton Schultz and you've been relying on him.
So it's weird. I would, even though I'm at wide receiver 25, he's the kind of player that I would probably draft higher than I have ranked in a startup.
Okay.
Just because I'd want to have a share of them, and being tied to C.J. Stroud for the next 4 years is such a massive thing as well. So, yeah, he's interested. Being wide receiver 14, I couldn't bump him that high. And there's still some veterans that I would rather have, like guys like Keenan Allen, who are just massive producers, points per game. But, yeah, I mean, Tank Dell, I think, has really established himself as a very good wide receiver too.
Real quick, I didn't have this in the notes, but I tried to do this on the way here just in my head, and I had a really hard time. Can you confidently rank the top 5 rookies right now with who you would want the most to least at the wide receiver position?
From this past class?
From this most recent class. So here are the 5 guys in my head that are the top 5. Not in order, but just the top 5 guys. Tank Dell, JSN, Zay Flowers, Puka Nacua,
Jordan Addison.
Those in my mind were the top 5 that are kind of in their own little tier.
Yeah.
But I had a really hard time. Like, I even went through and ranked them, and I didn't like how it looked, and I changed it, and then I changed it again. Like, I have a really hard time.
Well, that's because Zay Flowers you probably had too high.
I was going to say.
Zay Flowers looks 2 tutties this week, baby.
No, he looks good. I think Zay Flowers would be my 5 out of that group, though.
See, he would.
As much as everybody else loves him just because.
I think he's an awesome talent. I think they're going to keep
really
utilizing him.
I think it's a really good, solid wide receiver class.
No, he's a hard one to nail down because he is good, but that offense is
the offense isn't not the most appealing offense. Yeah,
that's what
it doesn't have a strong run game right now.
That's what makes it difficult for him.
Yeah, you're right. It is kind of hard because, like, do you take Puka 1? Do you take Jackson Smith and Jigba 1? Do you take? I would still take probably Jackson 1.
Was Puka just the flash, right?
I know he's definitely a flash. I think
Puka's the 5 for me of that group.
Really?
For me,
I saw the best comp was. I saw it on Twitter today from Izzy.
Okay.
Izzy Alcafast from TTC. Hines Ward.
I don't hate that.
And I was watching the game.
I don't hate that.
He does remind me.
And part of the reason he was so good was because he had Big Ben. So I'm curious. Like,
I don't think he's a flash in the pan. I think he's a very solid receiver.
I think he's a guy that'll live in that wide receiver 3 range.
I would take Puka ahead of Zay Flowers.
I would take Zay Flowers out of Puka.
That's fair.
For me, I think this was how I had it. I had Puka last. Then I had Zay Flowers.
Second to last.
Then I had Tank Dell, Jordan Addison, JSN. I think that's how I had it.
I could live with that. You'd probably throw Josh Downs at 6.
He's kind of in a weird tier of like, on his play when he was healthy, he probably deserved to be in that tier, but he hasn't been healthy, so we haven't seen as much of him. So I had a hard time. Like, I don't think he's
not in that tier. I'm saying next year it'd be Josh Downs, Marvin Mims,
Rice.
Rashee Rice should be. I like Rashee Rice. I mean,
he's coming along, man.
He's looked good.
He looks really good. And when the way he gets to the outside, his speed, his size, like he fits that offense really well. I like Rashee Rice.
I'm glad he's finally utilizing that speed and not just trying to play like a
big receiver,
big physical, and actually utilizing that speed.
He's got the talent. He can get the edge.
Yep.
Like he can get to the outside.
That was always my biggest thing with him was like, I just don't know who he is.
His hips are loose enough.
Yeah.
Like he's
looked good.
He's the one guy that I watch when I go back and watch these games. I always come away when he gets the ball like impressed.
Yeah.
And like
I totally agree.
There's been some opportunities for him to even have bigger games, but like I don't have enough Rashee Rice shares.
That will grow. I think that will just continue to
with
grow.
Pat Mahomes. I agree. For sure. Like
and
everything we want Sky Moore to be, Rashee Rice will turn into.
Yeah, I think that is probably the case.
And I'm really excited for next year. I think Rashee Rice will probably be one of my number 1 offseason targets.
Definitely.
Where let this draft class sizzle a little bit. Let's see how teams kind of play out. But like he's my number 1 target, I think, as of today in this offseason over any other player. And I think he will be obtainable. And I would pay. I want to see how this class plays out, but same thing. If I'm a contender, I have no problem going to belay first for Rashee Rice.
Okay.
I feel that good.
I could see that. I
mentioned the same thing about Jaden Reed.
Yeah.
I don't feel like he's worth that late first, but like I feel like Jaden Reed's. We didn't mention his name. His name's
played really well.
Christian Watson's played the last couple games. Jordan Love's played fantastic these last couple of weeks too.
Yeah,
he had that middle of the road where he's terrible.
There. We'll see.
Which is fine. It's his first year started. Yeah. You got to be okay with the roller coaster. He's looked really, really good these last 5 weeks. So I think I'm really excited about that. I think Dubs is the outside in because I think it's going to be Watson, Jaden Reed, and Musgrave. So I think Dubs is kind of outside. But I really do like that core if Jordan Love can really kind of keep what he's going on today.
Yeah.
That's a good dynasty. Like those are good dynasty pieces to have.
They need to figure out the running back.
They're going to. That'll be next year.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Easiest thing to figure out.
Yeah.
Just do it via draft.
Well, they need to figure out the line first.
Yeah, I would say the biggest concern is they got to beef up the offensive line to help everybody. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So Tank Dell, phenomenal. He's looked great, but I think where I have him, I feel comfortable having because I don't want to say it that way, but
I had him for what it's worth. 2 weeks ago, I had him at 32. I bumped him up to 25. He's sneaking close to my top 20. I don't know if he's going to get in, but he's approaching it.
He's in the tier of those players where if I put him there, it's not a big deal. I'm just looking at like long-term like upside. Like, I feel like he's going to be he's wide receiver 14 right now. I think he can live there as a wide receiver too.
Brandon Cooks, the guy that we comped him
with a year maybe here and there as a wide receiver 1, but I don't know if that's totally there. We're like going back to the guys, like I said, like Rashee Rice. Like there's wide receiver 1 upside there with him. And again, he's tied to Pat Mahomes. Right. There's wide receiver 1 upside with Jackson Smith and Jigba from his tape. So it's turned out to be a really nice class at receivers so far. Nice class overall.